so it's 9 a.m. for me. But wherever it is for you, thank you for joining me this morning. My name is Brittany Uhlorn, and I am the Stronger Together lead for PhD Balance. I'm so excited to be leading you all in this all levels yoga class. So all you'll need today is a mat, or if you don't even have a mat, that's totally fine. Just find some level, flat space on the ground. We won't need any props. And so, like I said, I am the lead for Stronger Together. And this month, we are talking all about taking time for you during graduate school. So I just finished my PhD in May at the University of Arizona, and I know how hard it can be to find time for yourself. As a grad student, you're likely spending most of your time doing research. Maybe you're taking classes, perhaps you're a teaching assistant. Whatever duties you have going on, grad school can definitely seem to run your life. So that's why it's extra important to be sure that you take time to care for yourself, because if you don't care for your own mental, emotional, and physical well-being, I've found that you can't put yourself into all that you do like grad school. And so this week, we're particularly talking about extracurriculars or passion projects. And so yoga became a staple for me during graduate school, and I actually started pursuing my yoga teacher training certification during my 5th and final year for grad school. I was lucky to be able to have the time and the resources to do that. But I think no matter what your passion project is, whether it's pursuing a hobby, like a sport or yoga, whether it's cooking, baking, reading, whatever it is, make sure you take the time to pursue those things for yourself and your well-being. So I'm excited to share with you my passion, yoga, today. So let's go ahead and get started. You can come to a comfortable seat, either on your mat or the floor, or a chair. We won't be here for long, but wherever is most comfortable for you. You can rest your hands just on your lap. And if you'd like, you can close your eyes or go ahead and just gaze softly at the floor. We'll take a few moments just to breathe here and check in with ourselves. See where your mind's at right now. Perhaps you've got a lot of activity going on in there, thinking about what might have happened earlier in the day. Maybe you're worried about a to-do list that you have to do later. Maybe you're worried about something, or maybe you're excited. Just check in. And then start to notice your breath. See if you can make the exhales the same length as your inhales. By connecting to our breath now and during our practice, we can help turn inward. Forget about the to-dos, forget about the things we should have done, the worries we have, and just focus on us in the present moment. We'll begin class with the sound Om. You can feel free to join in or just simply listen. If you'd like, you can place your hands together over your heart. Please inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh out through your mouth. Take another deep breath in. You can release your hands, open your eyes, and let's get started. We will start standing. So come to the center of your mat and then look down at your feet. Let's get oriented with our feet and with the ground before we start. So you want to root down firmly in all 4 corners of your feet. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but think of the 4 corners as your heel, that little edge or ball mound on the outside of your foot, your pinky toe mound, and then your big toe mound. So maybe rock back and forth for a moment. Just make sure you feel all those corners of your feet. And then if your legs aren't already, bring your feet inner hip distance apart. Squeeze your legs together, tone your thighs, and then sweep your arms overhead. Interlace your fingers, point your palms up to the ceiling or the sky, wherever you are, and stretch up out of the waist, getting a nice full body stretch to start our practice this morning. Release your arms. Now sweep your arms up one more time. Grab your right wrist with your left hand, straighten your right arm, and then hinge over or crescent over to the left. Turn slightly to the right, pull your ribs back, and then stretch out through those right fingertips. Come back to center and switch hands. So hold your left wrist, your left wrist with your right hand. Straighten that left arm and crescent over to the right. Turn slightly to the left. And then make sure you pull those ribs and your belly button back so that your stomach's not just sticking out. That'll help protect the lower back. Come back to center. Okay, if you're not already, come to the middle of your mat facing the top of your mat. Now put a baby bend in your knees and fold forward. You want to put as much bend in your knees to be able to get your hands to the ground. So that might mean you need to bend your knees quite a bit if your hamstrings are pretty tight. So the goal here is to have our hands on the floor. Once you're there, rock forward so that the weight is moving more towards the balls of your feet. So that way you feel the stretch along your hamstrings as opposed to your lower back. Inhale, lift your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, bend your knees, sink your hips. Separate your knees, and then walk your hands out in front of you for Garland One. Once you've walked your fingers out as far as you can get, press down through your hands to help move the weight back towards your sitting bones. Walk your hands back and come onto your hands and knees. Arms and upper legs should be straight up and down. Point your index fingers straight ahead and separate your fingers evenly. On an exhale, round your back and press the ground away like a mad cat. I have a cat, her name's Harper. She might join our video at some point. So if you see a cat, that's Harper. On an inhale, dip your belly towards the mat, lift your chin, lift your chest for cow pose. Exhale, press the ground away, round your back like a cat. Inhale, drop your belly, lift your chin, lift your chest for cow pose. Do that 2 more times, moving with your breath. So every time you exhale, cat pose. Every time you inhale, cow pose. Once you've done your last cow, come back to a neutral spine. I'll face you. You're going to lift your left arm up and then thread your left arm through the little gap created here between your right arm and your right leg. So thread your left arm through, bring your chest towards the ground, and walk your left fingers over to the right. If you'd like, you can keep your right hand where it's at, or you can crawl your right fingertips over to the left. You might find that your hips have swung to the right, so square your hips back up by taking them over to the left. Come back to center, replace your hands, lift your right arm to the sky, and then thread your right hand through that space behind your left. Crawl your right fingertips to the left, and crawl your left fingertips to the right. Square your hips back up to the right. Come back into that neutral spine with your arms underneath you, or your hands underneath you. Walk your hands out about 6 inches, and then walk your knees back about the same distance. Look at your hands. Make sure your index fingers are pointed straight ahead. Curl your toes under and press back up into downward facing dog. Here in downward facing dog, make sure you're pressing down into the mat through your index knuckles mounds, and make sure some of the weight is moving back towards the balls and the heels of your feet. If your legs are straight, make sure your thighs are toned to help protect your knees. Lift your right leg, bend your knees, step your right foot forward between your hands, come upright in your torso for high lunge. Press down into your mat with your right foot and drag it back to help square your hips up to the front of the mat. Hands can either be straight up, or if that's too much on your arms, you can put your hands on your hips. Step your feet together at the top of your mat. Release your arms by your side. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, forward fold, bending your knees if needed. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step, hop, or walk your feet back into downward facing dog. Again, pressing those hands down forward, moving your sitting bones up and back. Lift your left leg, bend your knees, step your left foot forward between your hands, rise up again in your torso for high lunge. Press that left foot down, drag it back to help square your hips up. Arms can either be straight up to the ceiling or on your hips. Take a nice deep breath here. Remember to connect to that breath throughout practice. Step your feet together at the top of your mat and release your arms by your side. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step, hop back into downward facing dog. We're gonna do that one more time, but we're gonna add Utkatasana or power pose. Lift your right leg, bend your knee, step it forward and come into high lunge once again. Right foot presses down, pull it back, and stretch up tall out of your spine. Step your feet together at the top of your mat. Keep your arms upright, or if they're not already, bring your arms overhead. Bend your knees, sink your hips, put the weight back in your heels for Utkatasana or power pose. Release your hands to the mat, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step, hop, or float back again into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg, bend the knee, step your left foot forward between your hands, and come on up into high lunge. Hips squaring to the front of the mat, arms either on your hips or overhead. Step forward, and then if your arms aren't already up, bring them up, bend your knees, sink your hips for power pose, Utkatasana once again. Setting the weight back into your heels. Imagine you could squeeze your knees together and release your hands to the mat, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Now listen carefully. Step, hop, or float back to plank. Knees can be on or off the floor. Press your hands down into the mat, drive them to the outsides of your mat, and then pull them towards your knees or your feet. And then lower your chest down. Place your hands in front of you and rest your forehead on your hands for a moment. I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling a little heat so far. So that's good. In yoga, we like to build some internal heat. Remember to keep connecting to your breath. Press back up to your knees and then come to sitting on your bottom. Lay down on your back. Stretch your legs out long in front of you. Bring your arms alongside your torso and then wedge your arms underneath your hips a little bit. We're going to do a few leg lifts. A strong core will help us in our final pose today. So take your belly button and pull it back towards your spine. You might feel your lower back move closer to the ground, which is great. That's what we're looking for. Point your feet, squeeze your legs together. Then float your feet, maybe 1 or 2 inches off the floor. Float your head off the floor. Then lift your legs up and lower them. Your legs can go as high or as low as you want. So maybe you stay here. Or maybe you bring your legs all the way up and over. We'll just be here for a few more seconds. Go whatever pace you need to. 2 more. And then lower on down. Lying on your back once again. All right, bend your left knee. Bring your knee in towards your face. And then hold your shin. So I have my left hand on top of my left knee, and then my right hand closer to my ankle. Pull your shin down towards your abdomen, and then pull it up towards your face. Flex both feet. So it's important to remember to stay engaged in your right leg, even though it's laying on the floor right now. And then turn your shin so that your left knee points out to the left of it, and your heel comes closer to your pelvis. So it'll only be a slight turn. Release your left leg, switch sides. Bend your right knee, bring it into your chest. Right hand goes on top towards the right knee, left hand towards the ankle. Press your shin down towards your abdomen and then up towards your face. Make sure to flex both feet and remember to breathe. Now again, put a little angle in your shin. So take your right knee off to the right, right heel closer to your pelvis. Release your right leg, squeeze your legs together, and then come on up to a seat. So our final pose today, we are not there yet, but our final pose is Bakasana, or crow, for any of you that do yoga and know what that is in Sanskrit. And so we're gonna do it really quick on our bottoms. So I'll face you when I do this, but bring your feet flat on the floor, and then keeping your feet together, separate your knees. Now you can stay here and fold forward between your legs with your palms kind of flat out in front of you, or maybe lift your feet off the floor, round your back like we did in cat pose, and reach your arms between your legs. My triceps are pressing into my inner knees, my knees pressing back on my triceps. All right, lower and down. So we're doing that at the end of class, just on our hands and our feet. So a little prep, a little teaser for that. All right, rock back and forth on your spine until you come up to standing. Come to the long edge of your mat, in the middle of your mat. Bring your fingertips together, point your elbows out. Inhale, bend your knees slightly. Exhale, step or hop to a wide stance. A wide stance here equals wrists somewhat over your ankles. So just look really quick to see if your wrists are above your ankles. Then turn your right heel out slightly. Turn your left toes out all the way so that they're facing the top corner of or the top edge of your mat. Look down at your heels. Make sure your left heel is in line with your right heel. Look off over your left fingertips. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, bend into your left knee, and then bring your arms overhead for warrior one. Try to square your hips up to the front of the mat, and then instead of leaning over that front left knee, try to sit tall in your spine. Pull your waistline back and stretch up through your fingertips. Like high lunge, if you need to, your hands can be on your waist. Fold into the inside of your left knee. Walk your hands up to the outer right corner of your mat for down dog lunge. You might have noticed that your left sitting bone moved out. So scoop that left sitting bone back underneath you. Press out through the outer right edge of your foot. Now we're gonna go to the other side, but we're gonna walk our hands over to our right foot, turning our left toes in and our right toes completely out. So we're now at the back of our mat. Walk those hands towards what is now upper left-hand corner of your mat for down dog lunge. Press out through the outer edge of your left foot and scoop that right sit bone back underneath you. Bring your hands either side of your right foot and come up into warrior one. Again, squaring your hips up to what is now the front of your mat. Arms either straight overhead or hands on your hips. Pull that belly button back towards your spine and sit up tall in your torso. Come back to center. Bring your fingertips together, point your elbows out. Inhale, bend your knees. Exhale, step or hop your feet together. All right, now we're gonna do warrior two or Virabhadrasana 2. So again, fingertips together, bend your knees, step or hop your feet to a wide stance. Again, wrists over ankles. Turn your right toes or right heel out slightly, left toes out 100%. Now look at your heels. This time we want heel, left heel to arch of our right foot alignment. So make sure your left heel would be intersecting with your right arch. Look over your left fingertips. Inhale, come up tall on your spine. Exhale, bend your left knee. Make sure your left knee is directly over your left ankle, but not going past. Press out through your entire right leg and look off over your left fingertips. And let's breathe here together for a moment. So inhale, exhale, maybe sit a little bit deeper. Inhale again. Exhale, sit a little bit deeper. Flip your left palm up to the ceiling. Place your right hand on your right thigh and stretch your left arm up and over your face. This is crescent or reverse warrior. Stretch out through those left fingertips. Straighten your left leg, hinge forward at the waist. Step your right foot in maybe 1 or 2 feet and fold forward over that left leg. If this is too much on your hamstrings, you can put a baby bend in your left knee. You can place your left hand on your left shin, or if your fingertips easily go to the floor, you can go ahead and take your fingertips to the floor. This is triangle pose. Press into that front foot and come back up to center. Turn your feet parallel. Let's go to the right side. But first, let's swing our arms back and forth to give them a break. All right, bring your arms back to parallel to make sure you have that wide stance again. Turn your left heel out slightly, right foot out 90 degrees. Make sure you have heel to arch alignment. Inhale, exhale, bend your right knee. Make sure your knee is above your ankle. Press out through your left leg and look off over your right fingertips. Breathe together like we're fierce warriors. So inhale, exhale, sit a little deeper. Inhale, exhale, sit a little bit deeper. Doing great. Flip that right palm over, place your left hand on your left thigh, and stretch your right arm across your face for reverse warrior. Press out strong through that left foot and reach through your right fingertips. Straighten your right leg, come up to parallel, step your left foot in, and fold forward over your right leg, bending your knee if needed, and taking your hand to your shin or maybe to the floor outside your right foot. You can look down at the floor for a little bit more balance, or you can look up at your left hand. Inhale, come back to center, and then we're gonna walk or turn our feet to the left, step forward at the top of your mat. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step your right foot back to a lunge. Here we're gonna be in low lunge. So hands either side of your left foot. You can either have your palms on the floor or you're up on your fingertips. Press your left foot down, drag it back to help square your hips up to the front of your mat. Place your right hand flat on the ground outside or inside your left foot. Place your left hand on your left thigh, twist to the left, and then maybe take your left arm straight up to the ceiling. Really press that left foot down and drag it back. You might feel your hips square up a bit more. Press out through your right hand to help you twist a bit more on your spine. Return to center, place your left hand on the mat. Take your right knee to your mat and come upright in your torso. Place your hands on your hips. Inhale, stretch up out of the spine. Exhale, sink forward into that front leg for monkey lunge or Anjaneyasana. Hands can either be on your hips or reaching up and back. But again, make sure you're not leaning over that left leg. Sit up tall on your torso. Put your hands either side of your left foot. Rock back so that your right hip is above your right knee. And then use your hands to help straighten or begin to straighten your left leg. Again, depending on your hamstrings, you might need a little bend in that left knee, which is totally okay. Stop wherever is most comfortable for you. But no matter where you are, press your left heel into the ground and drag it back. For runner's lunge. Place that left foot back on the ground. Lift your back knee. Step forward into forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep your arms all the way up. Hands come together over your heart. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step your left foot back to a lunge. Again, here we are in low lunge. So press your right foot down, drag it back to help square up your hips. And we're leaning over that right thigh. Place your left palm flat on the mat inside your right foot. Take your right hand to your right thigh. Twist your torso to the right and stretch your right arm straight up at the ceiling. Again, press that right foot down and drag it back and see if that helps you square your hips. You can look down at the floor for balance or up over those right fingertips. Look down at the ground, lower your left knee, come upright in your torso, hands either on the hips or straight up, and sink into that front knee for monkey lunge on the right side. Release your hands to the mat, rock back so your left hip is above your knee. Help walk your right foot out in front of you, bending that knee as much as you need to, and then fold forward over that right shin for runner's lunge. Rebend your right knee, lift your left, step forward into forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, forward fold. Last one. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step, hop, or float back into plank. Knees on or off the floor. Press your hands down into the mat, then out towards the sides of your mat, and then down towards your feet or your knees. And then lower all the way down to your bellies, resting your forehead on your hands for a moment. We're grabbing a sip of water if you're thirsty, like I am. Here on our bellies, just take a moment to check in with yourself. Check in with your breath, see how you're doing. All right, lift your chin, lift your chest, bring your elbows directly underneath your shoulders, forearms flat on the floor, hands pointing towards the top edge of your mat. Press your hands down into the mat and then drag them back. You might see it, you can even see in me a little bit, my chest comes forward. So when you press your hands down and drag them back, that helps pull your chest forward. See if you can curl your upper back and bring your head back a little bit. This is Sphinx pose. You think of those Sphinxes in Egypt. Lower on down. Bring your arms alongside your torso with your palms face up. Point your feet, tone your thighs, tighten your kneecaps. Press your pubic bone or your pelvis into the mat. Squeeze your shoulders together on your back, but press your fingernails down into the mat. On an inhale, lift your head and chest. Lower and down. We're going to do that one more time. This time, you might choose to lift your hands. So point those feet, tone your thighs, tighten your kneecaps, press your pubic bone into the mat, press your fingernails into the mat, squeeze those shoulders together and lift up. Maybe also lifting those hands. Lower on down. Rest your forehead on your hands. Okay, so we just did Sphinx pose a moment ago. Now we're going to do Cobra Pose. So place your hands right alongside your lungs. Point your feet, tone those thighs, press your hands down into the mat, and then drag your hands back to lift your chin and your chest and curl in your upper back. If at any time this Cobra Pose doesn't feel good in your lower back, lower on down. No matter where you're at, lower the front of your body to your mat. Then press up to your knees. We're going to come back into that cat-cow that we started earlier. So go ahead and on your exhale, press the ground away, round your back like a cat. And then on your inhale, dip your belly, lift your chin, lift your chest for cow pose. Exhale, press the ground away like a cat. And inhale, cow pose. Return to a neutral spine. Lean a bit to your left and see if you can lift your right leg parallel to the mat. Maybe stay there or press your right hand, left knee towards each other and see if you can float your left hand. Lower on down. All right, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So lean a bit to your right. See if you can lift your left leg parallel to your mat. Then press your left hand, right knee towards each other to see if that helps you get your balance to lift your right arm. Lower down. Okay, we're going to do that one more time. So if neither of those options works for you, either a bit lifting just your leg or both your arm and your leg, just stay in cat pose. If you could get your balance with your arm and your leg lifted, we're going to see if we can touch our knee and our elbow. So lean over to your left, lift your right leg. Press your right hand, left knee towards each other to help you lift your left arm. Then round your back like a cat and see if you can touch your knee and your elbow. And then extend. Round your back, knee to elbow. Extend. We'll do one more. Round back, knee to elbow. Extend, lower on down. All right, other side. Lean to your right, lift your left leg, and then maybe squeeze that left hand, right knee towards each other to help you lift your right arm. Stay here or round your back like a cat, knee to elbow. Press it up. Round back, knee to elbow. Extend. Last one, knee to elbow. Extend, lower on down. Sit back on your heels and rest for a moment. Good work. We are almost at Bakasana, our crow pose that we're going to be doing on our hands and our feet. So take a moment here to just rest. Maybe grab a sip of water. Okay. Place your hands on your mat. Curl your toes under and sit on your heels, lifting your knees off the mat. We're going to come into that Garland One Pose where we were at the beginning of class. So separate your knees, fold forward, and walk your hands out, kind of like downward facing dog. And then walk your hands back and see if you can hold on to your heels. If not, you can stay in Garland 1 with those hands straight out in front of you. So if you're holding your heels, this is Garland 2. Okay, come back onto your hands and knees and then sit up on your heels. So I'm going to demo Bakasana really quick for those of you that might not be familiar with it, but I'll also show you some stages and some places that you can stop. So any of these places are great stopping points. Be sure to choose whichever one best suits you and your capacity right now. So I'll show you both ways, both like side view and front view. But you're going to start in that same Garland 1. So toes curled under, lift your knees, fold forward, walk your hands out. Stay here in Garland 1, or walk your hands back. We're not going to take our hands to our heels, but walk your hands back to try to wedge the back of your arms underneath your shins. So you really want to get yourself tight in there, and it's really going to help you put that cat in your back. So that's how you did so much cat-cow, because this really relies on a rounded cat back. Then, so you can stay here, or maybe come up high on the balls of your feet and rock forward to help put some weight in your hands. The key here is to not be looking at your feet. That is a disaster for a forward fold, so make sure you are looking straight in front of you. You can stay here with your feet on the ground, or maybe play with lifting one foot, and then the other foot, or see if you can lift both feet, keeping that rounded cat back, look forward so you don't somersault, and squeeze those knees on your triceps. All right, I'll do it with you guys, but I'll face you this time. Again, please stay in any of those stages, whichever is going to be best for you and your body. So wherever you're at, come up high on your toes. Separate your knees, walk your hands forward for Garland 1, which is our first stage. Start to walk those hands back, working your triceps under your shins for stage 2. Stage 3, come up high on the balls of your feet, rock that weight forward into your hands, remember to look forward, and then play with lifting one foot, the other foot, maybe see if you can get both feet off the ground. Or Bakasana. Woo! All right, come on down. Good job. Let's take a child's pose. So bring your big toes together, let your knees go wide, and fold your torso between your legs. Arms can either be straight out in front of you, kind of like down dog arms, or you can rest your arms alongside your torso with your fingers pointing back towards your feet. Just take a few deep breaths here. And then we'll transition into our last few seated poses before Shavasana. Okay, come to sitting on your bottom. I'll face you, but you can be facing the top of your mat if you'd like. So stretch your legs out in front of you, squeeze your thighs together, flex your feet. Bend your right knee and place your right foot flat on the ground, somewhere on the inside of your left knee. Stretch tall out of the spine. So here it's important that our spine is not rounded. We want to have a nice tall spine. Take your right hand off to your right hip. Left hand can either hold onto your left knee, hug your left shin, or you can work your left tricep to the outside of your right knee. But no matter what variation you're choosing, make sure you're staying tall in your spine as you twist to the right. Return to center, straighten out your legs, and then bend your left knee, place your left foot flat on the ground. Take your left hand off behind you. Inhale, stretch up out of the waist. Exhale, twist to the left. Right hand's either on your knee, hugging your leg, or tricep to the outside of that left knee. But again, make sure you're tall and bright in your spine. Return to center. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Now we're going to do forward fold or west stretch. The reason it's called west stretch is because the back of our body is thought to be the west side of our body. And so when you're doing a forward fold, especially on the ground, you'll feel a stretch both in your hamstrings and in your back. So lean to your right hip. Use your left hand to pull everything on your left sit bones out from underneath you. And then do the same thing with the other side. Then use your hands to move your hamstrings out. And that should help you feel a bit more firmly rooted on the ground. Squeeze those legs together, flex your feet, sit up tall in your spine. The key here is we want a tall back. So we're going to begin to fold forward, but only go as far as you can, keeping that flat back. Just like forward fold on our feet, bend your knees if you need to. If you'd like, you can have your hands on the mat. You can hold your big toes. Maybe you're able to hold your calves or your feet. But wherever you are, make sure you're keeping your spine long and bending your knees if needed. If your arms are bent, straighten your arms, lift your torso upright. So that was west stretch. Now we're going to do east stretch, which is just going to stretch the front of our body. So place your hands alongside your hips with your fingers pointed out. Then walk your hands back, maybe 1 or 2 handprints. Point your feet, squeeze your legs together. Then squeeze your shoulders together on the back. You might notice, you can see it when I do that, my chest lifts and I get a bit of a back bend in my upper back. You can stay here or press into your hands, press down into your heels, and maybe lift your hips up. You can also place your feet flat on the floor for a reverse table. But no matter where you are, just make sure your shoulders are squeezing together on the back to help you get that upper back bend. Lower on down. All right, all downhill from here. Lay down on your backs. We'll do a few supine poses, and then we will rest for Shavasana. So lay down on your back. Bend your right knee in towards your chest. Take your left hand on top of your right knee, and then twist a bit to the left. You want to keep both shoulders and your pelvis flat on the ground. So only take that right leg over to the right as much as you can before you lose that connection with the mat. Release your right leg and switch sides. Left leg comes into the chest, right hand to the left knee. Take your left knee over to the right, making sure your left shoulder, left ribs, and left hip are still rooted onto the mat. Release your left leg. Bend both knees in, place your feet flat on the mat. Cross your right leg over your left leg, kind of like if you were sitting in a chair and your legs were crossed. Then lift your foot off the floor, curl your head and chest in, and maybe hold on to your left shin with both your hands. So I'll show you what that looks like facing you all. So I have my right leg over my left, and I'm holding on to my left shin. See if you can get your head and your chest back down to the mat. And then try to push your right sitting bone towards the front of your mat to help square your hips. If this is too much, you can place that left foot back on the floor and then come into this figure 4 position with your right ankle on your left knee. Uncross your legs, switch sides. Left knee over right knee. Curl your head and chest in. Maybe hold on to your right shin. And then press that left hip away from you to help square those hips up. Uncross your legs, stretch your legs out in front of you. Bend your right knee, interlace your fingers together behind your right thigh, and then begin to or straighten your left or your right leg, I'm sorry. Only again, straighten it as much as your hamstrings are happy to accommodate. Pull back on your right thigh with your hands, but also press out on your hands with your right thigh. Both legs should be straight as possible, and strong. So make sure those feet are flexed. Lower your right leg down and then squeeze your legs together for a moment. Notice if maybe, oh, here's my cat. Notice if maybe one leg feels longer than the other. I know for me, my right foot feels like it's reaching a bit farther than my left. So let's go ahead and even that out. Bend your left knee, interlace your fingers together behind your left thigh. Begin to or completely straighten your left leg. Both feet are flexed. If your legs are straight, make sure they're toned and strong. And make sure you have that opposition between your hands and your thigh, pressing and pulling. Release your left leg, squeeze your legs together, and now maybe notice if your feet have become equidistant from each other or from the top of your mat. I know mine feel like they evened out a bit. All right, last pose, bend your knees into your chest, separate your knees, curl your head and chest in, maybe hold the outsides of your feet. If your feet aren't accessible for happy baby pose, just hold on to the tops of your shins. Whether you're holding on your shins or your feet, pull down on them as either your shins or your heels kick back up into your feet. Then maybe rock side to side here for a moment, giving your spine a nice little massage. And then release your legs or your feet, straighten your legs out. Let your feet open up to the sides, let your palms face up to the ceiling. We'll rest here in Shavasana for just a few minutes. I'll let you know when it's time to come out. But start here by just taking one deep breath in through your nose. Exhale, sigh everything out through your mouth. And rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back to the room, back to your floor, back to the mat beneath you. Start to bring small movements into your fingers and your toes, rolling your wrists and your ankles, until you find a full body stretch. Bend one knee and the other knee and roll over to your right side, letting yourself settle there for a moment. Then very gently, using just your arms, press your way back up into a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands over your heart if that feels most authentic to you. And just as we started class, take a moment to tune in. Notice if maybe your breath has shifted. Notice the state of your mind. Is it as active as it was when we first started? Is it more calm? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There's no right or wrong, but just notice. Yoga is all about tuning in and being curious without judgment. We'll end class again with the sound Om. Feel free to join in or simply listen. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. Inhale again. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. You have my deepest reverence and respect. Namaste. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today, or if you're watching this later, thank you for watching this. I'm really happy to be able to share my passion, one that I cultivated during graduate school. So I'm so happy to be able to share that with you today. And my encouragement for you would be to find something that makes you happy, something completely that is unrelated to graduate school or work, or maybe even your family life, just something that you can do for yourself that helps you disconnect from everything that might be going on in the world and really just take time to support your well-being. So I know that's what yoga is for me, but please find whatever that might be for you. And of course, join our Stronger Together community. You can sign up on our website to be a part of our Discord, check out all the great content we have with PhD Balance. So yeah, I really encourage you to do that. But again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya. Bye-bye.